Hey guys, tonight we tiptoe into the dust-choked halls of an ancient citadel, far out on the misty edge of a long-dead empire. You're not a hero, not a prince, not a daring adventurer. You're something better, someone no one notices, the gatekeeper. Gray-bearded, wrinkled, paid just enough to keep showing up. You spend your nights alone, hunched under flickering lamplight, listening to the wind claw at the iron bars. But tonight, something moves where nothing should. Shadows flicker where there are no flames, and somewhere deep beneath your feet, something breathes. You probably won't survive this. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, drop your location and local time in the comments. I always love knowing who's up with me across the world. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The shift begins as it always does. You punch in at the little rusted bell tower, where the paperwork is a century old and still smells like mildew. Your boots clunk across the uneven stones, your knees crackle like dried leaves, and your oil lantern burns low again. You should have refilled it, but no one's watching. No one comes here. This outpost has guarded the old northern gate for hundreds of years. Long after the kingdom it once protected crumbled into legends and bedtime lies, your little hut leans like an old drunk. One stool, one battered kettle, a little ledger where you note all clear every 2 hours like clockwork. Nothing ever happens. Nothing should ever happen. This place is a ceremonial post. It's like putting a lock on a diary no one reads anymore. Still, you take your job seriously. Sort of. You patrol the ramparts, peer down the winding switchbacks, and glance at the ivy-choked gate sealed shut with a 1,000-pound iron bar that hasn't budged since King Aldrich III decided the North was not worth the trouble. Fun fact, King Aldrich also tried to tax air. Literally, historians still argue whether it was a joke or a clerical mistake. Spoiler, it wasn't. Anyway, you're just settling into your evening routine, kettle on, boots off, pipe lit when the knock comes. Just one, hollow echoing off the stone like a bone tapped on wood. You freeze. Not the scared kind of freeze. The confused kind, like when your cat says something that almost sounds like hello. You shake your head. Probably the wind. But then it happens again. You grab the lantern, adjusting the wick with a practiced flick. You hate how your hand trembles, not fear. Cold, probably, hopefully. You descend the outer steps, feeling each stone's familiar groove under your soles. The courtyard beyond is shrouded in fog so thick it feels like soup left out overnight. The air tastes metallic, not unusual for old fortresses, but stronger tonight. You shuffle toward the north wall. The sealed gate is unchanged, its ornamental shield still rusted in half. No footprints, no scratch marks, just silence and creeping moss. You raise the lantern, casting wide, swinging arcs of light across the stone. Nothing, until your foot lands on something wrong. It's soft, hollow. You step back, crouch, and run your fingers along the cobblestone. One stone feels loose, not cracked loose, like it's been set on something. Your stomach shifts. You mutter something grumbly and unprintable under your breath, then wedge the lantern in a niche and pry at the slab with your dagger. It gives faster than expected. Stone shifts and air rushes up, not stale, not musty, fresh, cold, like it's been trapped for too long and just remembered how to breathe. Then, the ground beneath you tilts, literally, with a thunderous clunk. The slab collapses inward, and you fall boots first down into blackness. It's not a long fall. 5, maybe 6 feet. Enough to jolt your spine and dislocate your dignity. Your lantern clatters down beside you, miraculously unbroken. You blink, adjust, raise the light. You're in a narrow passage, stone walls, arched ceiling, moss clinging to the corners, and carved into the floor beneath your scuffed boots, a spiral symbol intertwined dragons biting their own tails. Your mouth goes dry. You've seen that before, not recently, in an old book banned by the Abbey, said to mark the places where the old empire buried its shame. Some say they buried people alive. You force yourself upright, brushing off dust and bruises. The tunnel stretches ahead, deep into blackness. The air is cold but not dead. You swear you feel a breeze underground. Your hands tighten around the lantern as something clicks deep inside your memory. An old song your grandfather hummed when drunk. Something about a stairway under the gate, where traitors weep and kings forget. You never believed him. Now you're not so sure. The stairway coils before you like a serpent asleep, disappearing into the cold, silent earth. You hesitate, the weight of the unknown pressing down like the centuries of dust settled here. But curiosity, stubborn as a mule, prods you forward. You grip your lantern tighter, the flickering flame casting long, jittery shadows that dance on the rough walls. Your boots echo softly as you step down, each footfall stirring clouds of ancient dust that tickle your nose and throat. The air smells of damp stone, mold, and something else, something metallic, like rusted iron or old blood. You swallow hard, not exactly the comforting scent of home. The spiral narrows, the ceiling dipping low enough to force you to stoop. You scrape your shoulder on jagged stone, cursing under your breath. Great start, you mutter. You wipe sweat from your brow even though the cool air chills your skin. As you descend deeper, faint carvings start to reveal themselves on the walls, add symbols that glow faintly under the torchlight. You lean in closer. They look like runes, but twisted, archaic, unlike anything you've ever seen in the old books stacked in the town's meager library. Here's a curious thing. During the Middle Ages, stone carvings often served as cryptic messages or warnings, but historians still argue whether some were meant to protect the living or trap the dead. Seems fitting here. The passage suddenly widens into a low-ceilinged chamber. You crouch inside, eyes adjusting, and spot something remarkably massive mural sprawled across the far wall. It's faded, cracked with age, but unmistakable. It depicts a woman seated on a throne, regal and fierce, with a crown shaped like entwined serpents. Her gaze is fierce, commanding respect and fear. You squint closer. In her hand, she holds a key that matches the worn iron one hanging from your neck, a gift from your late father, who never told you why. A cold shiver runs down your spine. How could this be? You circle the chamber, fingers tracing the ancient paint. The colors are muted but vivid in the torchlight reds, golds, deep blues. The woman's robes seem to shimmer with a life of their own. Something about her looks familiar, like a shadow in your memory. You sit back on your heels, trying to piece it together. The mural isn't just decoration, it's a story, a warning, maybe a map. You recall a tale your grandfather told you back when you were just a boy, about an empress who ruled the old empire before it fell. A woman said to wield power that defied even the church's teachings. Some whispered she was a sorceress. Others claimed she held the key to eternal life. The problem is, no one knows if she really existed, or if she was just a myth invented to frighten the common folk. You dig through your pocket for the worn scrap of parchment you keep as a talisman. It bears a crude sketch of the same key, and underneath, in spidery script, the words, "Find the gate, guard the secret." You shudder. Whoever left that for you knew something you don't. A sudden noise startles you, a faint whisper, almost like a breath against your ear. You spin, torch held high, but nothing's there. Just stone and shadows. Maybe it's the wind, or maybe your imagination. You rub your eyes, but the feeling lingers. You remind yourself to breathe, even though your chest feels tight. The gatekeeper's life is supposed to be dull, quiet, safe. This is definitely none of those things. Before you can mull it over, a soft clinking sound rings out from the far corner of the chamber. You approach cautiously and find a series of metal rings embedded in the wall, each linked by rusted chains. They look like shackles. The room smells stronger here. The metallic temp thickens, mixed with something faintly floral and pungent like the scent of crushed herbs. Strange. Back in the day, the alchemists used to hide their concoctions underground, some saying to protect the kingdom from poisons they themselves had brewed. Historians still argue whether these subterranean labs were for healing or harm. As you peer closer at the shackles, a sudden memory flashes. The festival of St. Candace, celebrated every spring in your village. The story tells of prisoners locked away beneath the castle, victims of political intrigue, kept from poisoning the royal line. Maybe some of them never left. The knock vibrates through the cold air, slow and deliberate, like the ticking of a clock marking the moments of your dwindling sanity. You stand still, breath catching in your throat. Your mind races through every old tale you ever heard: prisoners' curses, vengeful spirits, secret passages left behind by the old empire. You swear the walls themselves are holding their breath, waiting. Curiosity wins over caution, as usual. You inch forward, lantern casting a thin cone of light that barely pushes back the darkness. Your fingers brush along the damp stone wall, slippery with moss and age, your heart hammering louder than the knocking itself. And then, with a soft metallic grind, the floor beneath your foot shifts. You stumble back just in time as a section of the stone floor slides aside like a trapdoor. Beneath the opening yawns a narrow spiral staircase, carved from the very bedrock, winding downward into the abyss. You blink, half expecting the world to collapse into this hole and swallow you whole. But no, it's just a stairway, silent, ancient, and inviting. You hoist your lantern higher, heart pounding with that delicious mix of dread and excitement. This is no ordinary passage. This is a secret, a hidden artery pumping life into the fortress long after its surface had crumbled into dust. It's one of those moments where you realize how utterly unprepared you are. No rope, no backup, just your own stubborn feet and a worn key dangling from your neck. You descend. Each step creaks underfoot, sending up little clouds of dust and memories. Your skin prickles as the air grows cooler, heavier with every meter down. Somewhere deep you hear the faintest echo of dripping water, a reminder that life, in some form, still clings to these shadows. The light from your lantern flickers wildly as you round a curve, casting grotesque shapes on the walls. Something ancient stares back at you from the cracks, faded glyphs, tangled vines, half-erased warnings. You recall a historical nugget your old history teacher once mentioned. The old empire was renowned for its labyrinthine underground networks, designed both for protection and, some argue, for containment of things too dangerous for daylight. Historians still argue whether these tunnels were mostly prisons, secret meeting places, or something darker. You pause, lantern beam resting on a peculiar carving, a dragon curling around a crescent moon, its tail disappearing into a jagged crack in the stone. A shiver ripples down your spine. The stairway finally opens into a small chamber, cold and damp, smelling faintly of earth and something metallic called iron, maybe blood. The walls here are rough, but the floor is smooth, worn by centuries of footsteps no longer counted. On the far wall hangs a mural, its colors muted but still alive in the flickering torchlight. A regal woman sits on a throne, crowned sharp as a hawk's beak, holding a key in one hand and a scroll in the other. Her eyes seem to follow you as you move, demanding something unsaid. Your breath catches, you know this image from somewhere, an old tale, a lullaby whispered by your grandmother on cold nights. The Empress Seraphina, last ruler of the old empire, whose reign ended in mystery and betrayal. Legends say she wielded a key both literal and metaphorical that could unlock the deepest secrets of the kingdom. Some say she hid treasures, others forbidden knowledge. You clutch the key around your neck unconsciously, feeling its cool metal press against your skin. Could this be the same key? On the floor, near the mural, lies a loose stone. You kneel, running your fingers along its edges. Beneath it, a hollow space yawns, dark and inviting. Your mind screams caution, but your feet move before you can stop them. You lift the stone. The space beneath reveals an iron-bound chest, its surface scratched and corroded, but unmistakably old. A lock seals it tight, though it looks fragile enough to break. With a shaky breath, you pull out a small dagger and pry at the rusted clasp. It gives with a soft crack, and the lid creaks open. Inside, wrapped in velvet, lies a leather-bound journal, its pages yellowed but intact. You lift it carefully, a chill creeping down your back. You recognize the handwriting, instantly precise, elegant script that belongs to Alaric, the royal alchemist whose name was whispered in fearful reverence in the annals of the old empire. Alaric was said to have created potions that could cure plague, but also poisons that could fell kings. Historians still argue whether his work was meant to save the empire or destroy it from within. You open the journal, skimming the first entries by torchlight. The words speak of fear, of betrayal, and a secret locked beneath the castle walls, something powerful enough to change the fate of the kingdom. Your pulse quickens. This is bigger than you imagined. Suddenly, a soft scraping noise comes from behind you. You whip around, lantern held high. Nothing, only shadows. Your breath hitches. Then you hear it again, the knock, slower now, measured, as if someone or something is waiting. You realize with a start that this place is alive, and it's been waiting for you. You take a deep breath, trying to steady the pounding in your chest. The knock has stopped, leaving only the echo of your own ragged breathing. You wipe sweat from your forehead, even though the air is cold and damp, and you force yourself to push forward. You can't just stand here like a frightened child. You're the gatekeeper, guardian of secrets, accidental explorer of ancient mysteries. The journal rests heavy in your hands, its leather cracked but sturdy. You flip through the pages, torchlight illuminating notes written in meticulous handwriting, diagrams of strange symbols, and sketches of arcane devices you barely understand. Some drawings resemble the glyphs you saw on the walls. Others look like strange mechanical contraptions. There's mention of the heart of the empire and the power to bind and break. You pause on a passage that reads, "The tomb beneath the throne is not what it seems. The true prison lies below, where shadows breathe and time forgets." You pocket the journal carefully and steel yourself. The narrow passage beckons, twisting further into the unknown. You follow it, each step more cautious than the last, senses alert for any sign of movement or trap. Your boots slap softly against the stone floor, muffled by centuries of dust. Suddenly, a gust of wind howls through the tunnel, snuffing your lantern's flame. Darkness swallows you whole. You fumble desperately for the flint heart in your throat. Sparks fly, and finally, the light flickers back to life, casting quivering shadows that seem to leer at you from every corner. The passage opens up into a long corridor, its walls lined with niches filled with broken statues and shattered shields. Dust motes float in the lantern's glow, and somewhere distant, faint dripping echoes. You run your hand over a cracked stone pillar, feeling the roughness of age and neglect. A stray thought crosses your mind. In medieval times, citadels were often built with secret escape routes and hidden chambers. Historians still argue whether these tunnels were mainly defensive or served darker purposes, like imprisoning traitors or forbidden cult gatherings. Then, a sudden movement catches your eye. At the far end of the corridor, a statue stands against the wall. At first it appears lifeless, a knight in full armor, sword planted in the ground. But as you approach, your breath catches. The statue's head shifts ever so slightly, the eyes flickering with an eerie glow. A low rumble fills the air, and the statue's arm lifts, the sword now raised in silent challenge. You press on, passing the statue and entering a grand chamber. The room is circular, its walls adorned with faded royal banners and shattered thrones. Dust carpets the floor, and the air feels heavy with forgotten power. Near the dais, a clay urn sits half buried in debris. You kneel, brushing off the dust to reveal a leather-bound journal tucked inside. Suddenly, a faint sound breaks the silence, a soft, rhythmic breathing coming from beneath the dais. You freeze, heart pounding. Something is down there, alive and waiting. The sound, soft, uneven breaths, hangs in the stale air like a ghostly presence. You crouch beside the stone dais, eyes darting across every inch for a hidden seam or crack. Your fingers find a small notch, a barely perceptible gap where the dais meets the floor. Your heart races. You press down, and the stone shifts, grinding against centuries of dust and neglect. A hidden panel slides open, revealing a narrow passageway spiraling downward into deeper darkness. A flicker of hesitation crosses your mind, but the breath continues, steady and unmistakably alive. You know you can't ignore it. You descend, the air grows colder, the silence heavier. The walls here are carved smooth, yet etched with strange glyphs, pulsing faintly under your torchlight. You recall a quirky fact. In medieval times, some tunnels were inscribed with protective prayers or curses to keep out grave robbers. Historians still debate whether these inscriptions were purely symbolic or held real power. The corridor opens into a vast chamber dimly lit by cracks in the stone ceiling, through which slivers of moonlight bleed down like silver knives. Your lantern barely competes. Before you, a massive sarcophagus rests, decorated with worn reliefs of kings and queens in solemn repose. The cold breath you heard earlier seems to emanate from beneath its lid. You reach out, trembling, and touch the stone. It's icy, unnaturally so. With effort, you push the lid aside. A gust of stale air bursts out, carrying the scent of ancient earth and faintly something floral lavender. No, something else, something more sinister. Inside the tomb lies not a body, but a hollow chamber filled with thick swirling mist that moves as if alive. You peer closer, and through the haze, you glimpse shadowy forms, faces frozen in silent screams, hands reaching out as if trapped in a timeless nightmare. You scramble back, heart pounding, as the sarcophagus begins to glow with an eerie light. Runes etched into the stone flare bright blue, illuminating the chamber in a ghostly glow. You realize that the magic holding this place is awakening. The door behind you slams shut, trapping you inside. You search the chamber, eyes scanning every surface for an exit or clue. Your lantern's light catches a massive metal door set into the far wall, covered with dozens of intricate locks and symbols. Your key glows faintly against your chest, as if responding to the locks. You take a deep breath and insert the key. The lock clicks. Suddenly, the world shifts. Your vision blurs, and you're pulled into a trance-like state. You find yourself standing on a battlefield, a sea of armored warriors clashing beneath a stormy sky. You witness the fall of the old empire, the betrayals, the sacrifices, the final moments of Empress Seraphine's reign. You awaken on the cold stone floor, your lantern guttering. The truth weighs heavy on your shoulders. The Empire's last secret is now yours. You lie still for a moment, the aftershocks of the vision pulsing through your mind like distant thunder. The weight of centuries presses down on you, not just in the cold stone beneath your back, but in the knowledge now etched into your soul. The Empire's secrets are alive, buried beneath layers of stone and silence, and somehow you have become their keeper. Pushing yourself up, you glance around the chamber. Its walls carved with symbols that seem to pulse faintly, as if breathing with you. Your lantern casts flickering light on the dust and debris scattered across the floor, some of which bear faint crimson stains. The air is thick with history and something darker, something unspoken. You recall the eerie feeling from earlier, the faint whispers that seemed to flutter just beyond hearing. Now, they grow louder and distinct murmurs, like voices from the past trying to reach you. Your skin prickles. You trace your fingers along the carvings. The glyphs look familiar, almost like an ancient language forgotten by time. Historians still argue whether such inscriptions were meant to protect or imprison, blessing or curse. You lean closer, noting a series of intertwined serpents coiling around a crown, the emblem of Empress Seraphina herself. Suddenly a sound of soft scraping echoes from the shadows. You whip around, lantern beams slicing through darkness. A figure emerges, shrouded in tattered robes, eyes glinting like coals in the gloom. Your heart leaps. Who's there? You demand, voice steadier than you feel. The figure steps forward, revealing the gaunt face of an old man, eyes filled with sorrow and urgency. You should not be here, he says, voice rasping like dry leaves. You grip your lantern tighter. He hesitates, then sighs. A guardian of these secrets, bound by oath to protect what lies beneath. You swallow. Why warn me? Because the seal weakens, the past stirs, and with it, the darkness that consumed the Empire may rise again. The old guardian beckons you closer and produces a small, intricately carved box. He opens it, revealing a delicate amulet shaped like a serpent, swallowing its tail. This, he says, is the Empress's mark. It grants passage but demands sacrifice. You hesitate, feeling the weight of destiny settle on your shoulders. Will you carry this burden? The guardian asks, eyes searching yours. Before you can answer, a distant rumble shakes the chamber. Dust rains from the ceiling as the walls seem to pulse with ancient energy. The old man's face darkens. You have little time. Suddenly, the door you entered through slams shut, plunging you into near darkness. Your lantern flickers wildly. The guardian steps back, merging with the shadows. Remember, he whispers, not all secrets wish to be found. As his form fades, you clutch the amulet, its cool metal a tangible link to the Empire's lost past. Your journey is far from over. You take a deep breath, steeling yourself against the unknown. Ahead lies a corridor, winding deeper into the earth, its end swallowed by darkness. With lantern in one hand and the amulet in the other, you step forward, ready to face whatever waits below. As you move deeper into the passage, the air thickens, heavy with the scent of damp earth and something faintly metallic like iron or old blood. Your footsteps echo softly, swallowed quickly by the ancient stone. Each step feels heavier, like you're wading through invisible resistance, as if the very walls themselves are trying to hold you back. Ahead, the corridor widens into a vast chamber dominated by a massive stone statue and imposing figure of a knight in full armor, sword planted firmly in the ground. The statue's eyes are carved from dark obsidian, gleaming eerily in the flickering light of your lantern. You approach cautiously, your breath catching in your throat. Despite the cold, lifeless stone, The statue emanates a palpable presence and almost sentient awareness. Suddenly, the obsidian eyes flash, and the knight's head slowly turns to face you. Your heart hammers in your chest as the statue shifts, the armor creaking like old bones. The massive stone hand reaches for the hilt of the sword, lifting it with a grinding noise that fills the chamber. You stumble back, nearly dropping your lantern. This is no ordinary guardian, it's alive with ancient magic, designed to protect the secrets buried deep beneath the citadel. Legends spoke of such enchanted sentinels, but you never imagined facing one. You remember an obscure fact. Some medieval statues were believed to be imbued with the souls of fallen warriors, bound by powerful rituals to guard sacred places. Historians still debate whether these were symbolic stories or actual enchantments. The knight's sword points directly at you, a silent challenge. Your mind races. You could flee, but where? The corridors behind you seem to close in, swallowed by darkness. You remember the amulet in your pocket, the Empress's mark, and grip it tightly, feeling its cool surface pulse faintly. Taking a deep breath, you speak aloud. I come seeking the truth of the old empire. I mean no harm. For a tense moment, nothing happens. Then, the knight slowly lowers its sword, nodding once in acknowledgement before stepping aside, revealing a narrow passage beyond. Relieved, you move forward, your lantern casting shadows that leap and dance along the rough walls. The corridor leads to a circular chamber adorned with faded royal banners and shattered thrones, remnants of a kingdom long fallen. Dust coats every surface, and the air is thick with the weight of forgotten power. At the center lies a stone dais, cracked and worn. You approach cautiously, noticing inscriptions carved into its surface, ancient words in a language lost to time. Your fingers trace the carvings, struggling to decipher their meaning. They speak of kings who ruled with iron fists, and queens who wielded magic forbidden by the church. You shudder, imagining the power struggles and betrayals that must have played out here. Near the dais, half buried in debris, you find a clay urn. You kneel and brush off the dust to reveal a leather-bound journal inside. Opening it carefully, you discover entries from Alaric, the royal alchemist. His writing is filled with fear and urgency, detailing experiments with potions and elixirs, warnings of betrayal, and hopes to protect the kingdom's deepest secrets. Historians still debate whether Alaric was a savior or a villain. As you read, a soft breathing sound fills the chamber. You freeze. The sound grows louder, coming from beneath the dais. Your heart pounds as you realize this chamber is not just a tomb, it's a prison. Something alive lies trapped below. Your fingers tremble as you circle the cracked stone dais, the soft breathing growing louder, more insistent. The air is thick and damp, carrying the faint scent of earth and something faintly floral, as if the place itself is both alive and decaying. You glance around, searching for a way to peer beneath the dais. Your eyes catch a small iron ring embedded in the stone handle. You tug at it, and the dais slowly creaks open, revealing a dark cavity beneath. Your lantern's flame flickers, casting strange, writhing shadows on the walls. As you lean closer, a wave of cold air rises, chilling you to the bone. You hesitate, but the steady breathing pulls you forward. Inside the cavity is a shallow chamber, and at its center lies an ancient sarcophagus, its lid cracked but not fully removed. A pale mist swirls around it, drifting like restless spirits seeking release. The breathing, you realize with a start, isn't coming from the air, it's coming from within the sarcophagus. Your heart hammers. You peer closer, and the glow of your lantern reveals a figure inside. Not a corpse, but something alive, though pale and still as marble. You recall the old stories whispered in the village, how the kings of the old empire didn't just die, they were imprisoned beneath the castle to protect the realm from a curse that could awaken the dead. Historians still argue whether those tales were metaphor or truth, but now, faced with this eerie scene, you feel the chilling possibility of both. You step back, suddenly aware of every breath you take, every echo in the chamber. The sarcophagus lid shifts slightly, and a voice, a whisper, barely audible, brushes past your ear. "Free me." You spin, lantern beam darting around, but there is nothing, only silence and shadows. The room begins to tremble faintly. Dust falls from the ceiling, and the carved walls seem to pulse with an ancient energy. You realize the prison's magic is weakening. The sarcophagus glows with an otherworldly light, runes etched into its surface flaring bright blue. You clutch your amulet tightly. The Empress's mark pulses in time with the light, linking you to this awakening power. Suddenly, the floor beneath you vibrates. The walls hum with a low chant, barely perceptible but undeniably present. You know you've crossed the threshold. This is no longer a place for the living. You must decide. Flee and seal this secret forever, or delve deeper and uncover the truth behind the Empire's fall. As you step forward, the metal door at the far end of the chamber catches your eye. It's covered with dozens of intricate locks, each carved with symbols that shimmer faintly in the lantern light. The door is a puzzler test. The journal spoke of it. The door of 1,000 locks, designed to keep the Empire's greatest secrets safe from all but the worthy. You pull the key from your neck, its metal warm and buzzing with energy. The first lock clicks open, then another, and another, each releasing with a soft, echoing sound. The door groans as it slowly swings inward, revealing a passage swallowed by darkness. You step through, torch held high, heart pounding in your ears. Beyond lies a chamber where time itself seems to fold. Suddenly, the world shifts, your vision blurs, and you find yourself standing amid the Empire's last battle, a storm of steel, fire, and betrayal. You watch as Empress Seraphina fights with fierce resolve, placing the key into a vault that will seal the Empire's fate. The vision fades, leaving you breathless and alone. The Empire's last secret is now yours. You awaken on the cold stone floor, your breath shallow and heart pounding like a war drum. The vision lingers in your mind's eye, images of a crumbling empire, fierce battles, and a queen's desperate sacrifice. The weight of centuries presses down, as if the ghosts of the past have chosen you to carry their burden. You push yourself up, lantern shaking in your hand. Around you, the chamber is silent once more, but the air still hums with unseen energy. The cracks in the walls glow faintly, pulsing with a soft blue light. Your eyes settle on a small alcove carved into the stone, a narrow shelf holding a dust-covered urn. Curiosity pushes you forward. You approach and brush away the grime, revealing a worn leather-bound journal tucked inside. You carefully open it, and the pages crackle softly. The handwriting is precise, the ink faded but legible. It belongs to Alaric, the royal alchemist, whose name you've heard whispered in town as a figure both feared and revered. His journal is filled with frantic entries, descriptions of experiments, elixirs and potions designed to heal or harm, to grant life or take it away. He speaks of betrayal within the court, a looming darkness, and a secret buried deep beneath the castle to protect the kingdom from ruin. Historians still argue whether Alaric's work was a gift or a curse, a hope for salvation or a path to destruction. You read on, heart pounding as you uncover mentions of a false tomb and breath beneath, cryptic phrases that now make sense given what you've witnessed. Suddenly, the ground beneath your feet vibrates softly. The air grows colder. You glance toward the sarcophagus, now glowing faintly with runes etched into its surface. The breath you heard earlier grows louder, steady and ominous. You realize the prison below is awakening. You clutch the amulet, feeling its pulse synchronize with the ancient magic surrounding you. A door at the chamber's far end, covered with intricate locks and symbols, catches your eye. You approach, feeling the energy intensify with each step. The key you carry vibrates softly against your chest, as if urging you forward. You begin unlocking the door, each lock releasing with a distinct click, echoes reverberating through the chamber. The heavy metal door swings open, revealing a passage engulfed in darkness. You step through, torch-raised heart racing with anticipation and fear. Suddenly, your vision blurs once more. You find yourself amidst the chaos of the Empire's fall, witnessing Empress Seraphine's final stand, her face fierce yet sorrowful as she seals away the Empire's greatest secret. The vision fades, leaving you breathless, alone in the darkness, carrying the Empire's last secret. You take a moment to steady your breath, the echoes of the vision still swirling in your mind. The weight of the Empire's last secret presses upon you like a physical burden, heavier than any armor you've ever worn. The torchlight flickers, casting restless shadows that dance like phantoms on the cold stone walls. Ahead lies the narrow passageway, swallowed in darkness, but you press forward, guided by the soft pulse of the amulet nestled against your chest. The key's warmth is a strange comfort amid the chilling silence. Your footsteps echo in the tunnel, the sound swallowed quickly by the thick stone. The air grows colder, heavier, each breath a visible cloud. You remind yourself of the old tales, how the old Empire's rulers believed that death was not the end but a gateway, and that some souls lingered, bound to the earth by curses and secrets. Historians still argue whether these beliefs were mere superstition or reflected hidden truths. The tunnel opens into a vast underground chamber. The walls are adorned with murals faded by time, scenes of triumph and tragedy, of kings and queens locked in eternal struggle. You pause, tracing a hand over the crumbling images. The artistry is breathtaking, despite the wear. Banners flutter in imagined winds, swords clash in frozen battle. In the center stands a pedestal carved from black stone, its surface etched with arcane symbols that seem to shimmer in the torchlight. On it rests a small, intricately crafted box. You approach cautiously, heart pounding. With trembling fingers, you lift the lid. Inside lies a crystalline vial filled with a swirling, iridescent liquid. The air around it hums faintly, alive with a power that feels ancient and dangerous. You recall legends of elixirs crafted by alchemists, potions said to grant eternal life or immense power. Alaric's journal mentioned such creations, warning of their potential to corrupt or save. Historians still debate whether these potions were ever real or mere allegory. As you hold the vial, a sudden chill rushes through the chamber. The air thickens, and shadows coalesce into vague forms, ghostly figures that flicker at the edges of your vision. Whispered voices swirl around you, speaking in a language lost to time. You clutch the amulet tightly, the Empress's mark pulsing rapidly, as if reacting to the spectral presence. The spirits seem restless, caught between worlds, yearning for release or revenge. You feel a deep, unsettling awareness. The Empire's secrets are not simply buried, they are alive, watching, waiting. Your mind races with questions. What was hidden here? Why was this place sealed? And what consequences will your discovery bring? The chamber trembles faintly, dust falling from the ceiling. Time feels fluid, as if the past and present are merging. You realize that your journey has crossed a threshold, not just into hidden tunnels, but into the heart of a mystery that could change everything. The whispered voices grow louder, weaving around you like a cold, invisible tide. They speak in fragments, half-remembered words, warnings lost to time. You struggle to make sense of the murmurs, but their meaning remains elusive like a dream slipping through your fingers at dawn. The chamber's shadows flicker and writhe, taking on shapes both familiar and alien. Faces peer from the darkness, faces of nobles, warriors, and common folk alike, frozen in silent plea or silent accusation. You shiver, clutching the amulet, its pulse now rapid and insistent. A chill wind sweeps through the chamber, snuffing out your lantern's flame. Darkness swallows you whole. You fumble for your flint, sparks flying until the lantern flares back to life. In the brief glow, you catch a glimpse of movement, a figure standing just beyond the circle of light. A woman draped in tattered robes, her eyes glowing faintly, reflecting sorrow and determination. She steps forward, voice like a whisper carried on the wind. "I am Seraphina," she says, "last of the old empire, bound here by betrayal, awaiting the one who holds the key." Your heart pounds. You remember the vision, the queen who sealed away the empire's darkest secret, sacrificing everything. "Why are you here?" you ask, voice barely audible. "To warn," she replies. The seal weakens, the darkness stirs. If freed, it will consume all. You glance at the vial still clutched in your hand, its swirling liquid shimmering ominously. Seraphine's gaze fixes on it. That potion holds the power to heal or destroy. Its fate rests with you. You swallow hard, realizing the enormity of your choice. The chamber trembles again, dust falling like snow. Shadows flicker, growing restless. Historians still argue whether Seraphine's sacrifice was salvation or doom. You whisper to yourself. The queen's spirit fades, leaving a lingering chill. You stand alone once more, burdened with secrets and a destiny you never sought. The path ahead is unclear, fraught with danger and mystery, but turning back is no longer an option. You tighten your grip on the amulet and the vial, stepping toward the unknown depths below. The deeper you venture, the heavier the air becomes. It presses against your skin, thick and suffocating, as if the weight of centuries of silence itself is settling around you. Your footsteps echo hollowly, swallowed quickly by the cavernous spaces ahead. The narrow passage opens into a vast hall, the walls carved with intricate reliefs depicting the rise and fall of the old empire. Kings and queens, warriors and priests, their faces frozen in stone, their stories etched into the cold rock. Your lantern casts flickering light across the chamber, revealing a massive door, its surface adorned with countless locks and mechanisms, each more elaborate than the last. The door of 1,000 locks you read about in Alaric's journal. You approach cautiously, feeling the amulet warm against your chest. The key in your hand vibrates softly, resonating with the locks. One by one, you begin to unlock them. Each click echoes like a heartbeat in the silent hall. Some locks slide open smoothly, others resist, demanding more effort, more patience. Historians still argue whether this door was built as a safeguard or a prison. As the last lock clicks open, the heavy door groans, swinging inward to reveal a chamber shrouded in darkness. You step inside, torch held high, heart pounding with a mix of fear and awe. The room is vast, its walls lined with ancient tomes, scrolls, and artifacts, treasures of knowledge lost to time. A throne sits at the far end, draped in shadows, its occupant long gone. On a pedestal nearby rests a sealed chest, ornately carved and secured with magical wards. The air hums with latent power. You sense the Empire's heartbeat here in its knowledge, its secrets, its curses. Your fingers brush the chest's surface, feeling the magic pulse beneath your touch. This is the heart of the Empire's mystery, the secret Empress Seraphina tried to protect. You realize the choice before you reveal these secrets to the world, or seal them away forever. The shadows in the chamber seem to watch, waiting for your decision. Your journey has brought you here, to the crossroads of history and destiny. The chest before you beckons like a siren's call, an ancient vessel holding the fate of an empire. You kneel, fingers trembling as you trace the ornate carvings depicting serpents intertwined with crowns, symbols of power and sacrifice. The seals hum softly, responding to the amulet's pulse, as if recognizing your presence. You lift the lid slowly, the hinges creaking in protest. Inside lies a collection of scrolls, jeweled artifacts, and a small vial glowing faintly with an ethereal light. The air inside the chest carries a scent of old parchment, herbs, and something elusive, like the faintest trace of incense burned centuries ago. As you unroll the top scroll, the ink seems to shimmer, revealing a detailed map of the underground labyrinth you've just traversed, marked with symbols you now understand as warnings and safe paths. There's a letter. Its elegant script reveals the Empress's final words, a plea for redemption and warning against the dark power she imprisoned. Your pulse quickens. The Empress knew the true cost of her secret, and now you stand at the center of that legacy. Suddenly, the chamber trembles. The shadows deepen, coalescing into forms that whisper in tongues long forgotten. The air thickens, charged with ancient magic. You clutch the amulet, its warmth spreading through your hand, a tether to the past and a shield against the encroaching darkness. A voice echoes in your mind. The Empire's fate rests in your hands. Choose wisely. Historians still argue whether the Empress's secret was salvation or doom, a protective measure or a curse unleashed. Your gaze falls on the glowing vial, the elixir Alexia spoke of. You realize this potion holds immense power, capable of healing the land or bringing ruin. The chamber awaits your decision. With a deep breath, you steel yourself to face the legacy of a forgotten empire. The air grows thick as you ponder your choice, the weight of destiny pressing down with crushing inevitability. You clutch the glowing vial, feeling its cold pulse, the swirling liquid inside reflecting the flickering torchlight like a miniature storm. Around you, the ancient tomes and relics seem to hum with anticipation, as if the very walls await your decision. 1,000 thoughts race through your mind. Should you unleash the power contained here? Could this elixir restore a fallen kingdom, heal the wounds of a broken land? Or would it instead awaken forces best left sleeping, bringing darkness that could consume everything? You recall the old tales, whispered in villages and halls alike, of alchemists seeking to bend life and death to their will. Some saw them as saviors, others as harbingers of doom. Historians still argue whether such power was ever truly attainable, or just the fantasies of desperate men. Your fingers tighten around the vial. The amulet pulses in response, a steady heartbeat amidst the swirling uncertainty. Suddenly, a chill wind sweeps through the chamber, extinguishing your torch and plunging you into darkness. The shadows around you shift and writhe, coalescing into shapes both terrifying and mesmerizing. Whispers rise, echoing the ancient incantations of the old empire's downfall. You realize that by opening this chamber, you have disturbed a fragile balance. The room seems alive, breathing with anticipation and dread. You are no longer merely a gatekeeper. You are the custodian of a legacy that transcends time. Taking a deep breath, you uncork the vial, feeling the cool liquid pulse against your skin. A choice lies before you, to drink and awaken the Empire's power, or to seal it away forever, protecting the world from its dangerous gift. The silence stretches, heavy and expectant. Your hand trembles, but your resolve hardens. Whatever your decision, the world will never be the same. Your hand hovers over the vial, the cool liquid swirling like a tempest contained within glass. The chamber holds its breath, the shadows still, as if time itself pauses to witness your choice. You remember the tales of those who sought power and paid the price, the kings who lost their thrones, the empresses who vanished into legend, the empire that crumbled beneath the weight of secrets. You close your eyes, drawing strength from the amulet's steady pulse, the legacy it carries. You know this moment will define not only your fate but that of countless others, those who came before and those yet to come. With a steady breath, you make your choice. The liquid flows down your throat, cold and electric, igniting a fire that spreads through your veins. Visions flood, your minefields blossoming, rivers healing, shadows retreating. The Empire's power awakens within you, a force ancient and vast, yet with it comes responsibility and danger. You feel the whispers of the past, the weight of betrayal, and the hope for redemption. The chamber glows softly, the runes on the walls shining with renewed light. The shadows recede, replaced by a calm that feels both alien and comforting. You rise, transformed. The Gatekeeper is no longer merely a watcher of doors, but a bearer of truth and power. Outside, the first light of dawn filters through the cracks, promising a new beginning. You step back into the world, the Empire's secret alive within you, ready to shape the future. As the echoes of your journey fade into the quiet night, remember that every secret carries its own burden, every discovery a choice. The past and present intertwine, and the paths we walk shape the stories yet to be told. Now, dim the lights, let your breath slow, and carry this tale gently as you drift into dreams. Rest easy, knowing that even in darkness, there is light waiting to be found. Sweet dreams.